Hello and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Marco Tabo. Court strikes out charges against 119 bad governance protesters. Also, EFCC arrest detained former Delta Governor Okowa for alleged 1 trillion naira fraud. Later on the show, Chief of Army Staff General COAS Lagbaja dies at 56. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. This week, the Federal High Court in Abuja struck out treason charges against minors who had been detained since August in connection with the End Bad Governance protest. The trial judge, Obiora Egwatu, struck out the case after the Director of Public Prosecutions of the Federation, DPPF, MD Abubakar, announced the withdrawal of the charges in response to widespread public outrage. The defense lawyers, Femi Falana and Hamza Kiari, did not oppose the application, granting the request. The judge struck out the case in 2 batches, freeing a total of 119 defendants, including dozens of minors who were present in court. The development is a culmination of the public outrage that followed the prosecution of the minors by the police in a regular court and the collapse of at least 2 of the minors and 2 others while waiting to take their pleas during the last proceedings on November 1st. Now, joining us to discuss this, of course, they're right here in the studio with me. I've got a lawyer and legal practitioner, Justice Ojina. Good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure to join you.
And of course, I have Supriya Membre. Good night. Fantastic. He's a public affairs analyst, and it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, Justice, I'll begin with you. This is it's a legal matter very quickly. You know I'll do that always. Now, the videos of the minors who were part of the #bad governance protest that surfaced on the internet ridiculed us before the international community in such a way. What are your thoughts on what went wrong and the whole proceedings that you obviously have been following?
Okay, of course, I've been even more than following because I'm one of the lawyers who protested, especially in Lagos State, for the ones that were arrested in Lagos State.
Interesting.
Yes, we approached the authorities and they released them to us. So that's why you observe that most of the protests in Lagos State, yes, there were a number of flashpoints. Of course, a few journalists were assaulted and a number of persons were just injured here and there. But largely, it was well organized, well orchestrated, and I must also still give kudos somehow to the rank and file of the Nigerian police, especially the commissioners of police, both during the August protest and the October protest, because it happened that there were 2 commissioners of police. So, having said that, I must state the fact that I feel relieved. It's not as if I'm very happy, but I'm very, very relieved that whatever happened on that day that these children or minors were prosecuted didn't culminate in, for example, the deaths in open court of the minors, or even a protracted prosecution that would either lead to, most likely, I think, would have been their acquittal. But I'm very, very happy that it is very, very unfortunate that the persons who, for example, maybe arrested them or held them for that long didn't follow due procedure, and at the end of the day, it showed in open court, and unfortunately in front of cameras, to the point where it got escalated to the ends of the earth.
Now, that gaffe that got them to be exposed to the world with the court proceedings, where did that mistake come from, and why was that particular scenario playing out knowing fully well the consequence?
For me, I think that solely we must drop it at the door mouth of the Nigerian police, because once people are arrested till they are couriered to the courts, they are usually within the custody of the Nigerian police. And I'm very, very ashamed that these people, even though they were arrested in various parts of the country, Kano in particular and Kaduna and some other northern states, especially worse hit, they were couriered to the courts, and pending that period, they were solely in custody of the Nigerian police. And it's very, very unfortunate that investigators had the opportunity to actually see that these were minors. They still brought them in front of the whole world. They called their names, which is very, very unlawful and shameful, and they preferred charges against them in an adult court and in so much in an emaciated and practically undignifying state.
I'm not done with you. Okay, I'll be back. Membre, very quickly, in as much as we understand that we are trying to deviate the blame away from the minors, because we can't afford to also play out a scenario here where they should also pay for whatever it is they did. They destroyed businesses, they looted shops, and they brought down a lot of government properties. People lost their businesses. Some apparently ran out of business because of their attitude. There is always consequence for every action, knowing where. But should there have been a different approach to punishing these children?
First of all, the most troubling thing from this whole scenario was the fact that they were held for 3 months without prosecution. These are minors. You had lawyers telling us in front of open court that there are no minors among them. And we found out that they were minors. No, these are things that should make heads roll. These are things that in other crimes will cause serious outcry, public outcry. We've seen a lot of things that we are now taking things for granted.
Like normalizing it.
Normalizing a lot of things. You know, minors held for 3 months. Where were they kept? Under what conditions? Even in courts, they were kept on the floor to munch on ground nuts and whatever nuts, and you know, it's so. And Nigeria is a signatory to a lot of charters that guarantee the Child Rights Act, African Charter, United Nations Charter, from which we even get our own Child Rights Act. Even the criminal code itself and the penal code is against children, molesting children emotionally and the rest of that. What would we say if others are doing it to children, and then the government that has the responsibility of protecting children, of minors, would, you know, keep minors in a very harsh condition, bring them to court, not even pretend as though they are properly taken care of, keep them on the floor, and then someone faints. And then we have lawyers come to tell us, oh, no, it is not, they are not minors. Then later they are minors. Or later we'll find out. You know, these are things that make people, citizens, lose confidence in the government. These are things that ought not to happen.
All right.
Normally.
Now, Justice General, now, we understand that from reports, the president obviously was not even aware that some of these proceedings were going on. Now, why is it that principals in government who are supposed to actually be the facelift of government they just continue to make some blunders that are very, you know, nursery, and you begin to ask yourself what exactly is their responsibility. Now, moving forward, how do you think we should be able to cover some of these tracks and at least give us a bit of a reprieve?
For me, I think it's about training, retraining of some of these officers.
But these are supposed professionals who are actually supposed to know their duties. It's just basic duties they're supposed to know.
Fantastic. I like the way you put it. And you know, my fellow here, my friend here, he actually talked about lawyers, but I need to shift that into perspective. Let me tell you what maybe he ought to have helped us with. Yeah. It is the prosecutor in charge of the matter. Because if you say lawyers, sometimes somehow people
want that the AGF permitted by law to discontinue the case, and of course.
Yes, definitely. It is actually fantastic, and that's why I have to also commend the AGF in this regard. Of course, this is not the only place where I'm giving him a high five. Also, there are law reforms in place. But with respect to what he said, it is the prosecutor, and it's very, very unfortunate. I don't know, just like he said, I don't know how some people are still holding on to their jobs. This prosecutor opened his mouth and actually said that they are married, these people are graduates, these people have mansions and all. And of course, thank God for the people behind this who are also laughing at it.
Continued. So
I'm very, very happy with that.
Thank you for staying with us on Newsweek. Of course, we'll go on a quick break and we'll return in a moment. Stay with us. This week, operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arrested a former governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, over the alleged diversion of 1.33 trillion naira derivation fund. The sum amounted to a 13% derivation fund from the Federation account between 2015 and 2023. According to sources in the commission, Okowa was at the EFCC office in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and was subsequently arrested by officials of the commission. When contacted, the EFCC spokesperson, Dele Oyewale, confirmed his arrest. Of course, I still have Justice General right here with me and Membre. I hope I'm pronouncing it rightly. Membre.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, the EFCC moving to arrest ex-Governor Ifeanyi Okowa obviously shouldn't come as a surprise, but most times the EFCC have been accused of sometimes not having concrete evidence to nail a situation and always basking in the joy of media trial. Do you also share the same sentiment?
Well, I'm not surprised, as you've said, they've arrested him. I'm not also excited.
Okay.
He's not the first governor that has been arrested and has gotten scot-free. In fact, there was a governor that recently went to EFCC custody. They declared him wanted. Okay. They went as far as getting Interpol involved. And he visited them in their premises, and they let him go, only to come back and, So most of these things, since the establishment of EFCC, from 2003, 2004, down till date, how many politically exposed persons have they been able to send to jail? Only 2 governors, especially the chief executives of states. You're having a situation of 1.3 trillion. And another 40 billion somewhere invested somewhere. And I asked myself this question. I said, why is it that the Economic and Financial Crime Commission cannot do their homework properly? Because you would find out that at the end of the day, this same issue will then go through the legal system, yes, and the media also. And you will find out that they didn't have what they needed to prosecute the person. Yes, we have the issues of the judiciary, also issues with the judiciary and the rest of that. But something I asked myself, in the United States, for instance, if they should indict somebody, you almost know that the chance of the person slipping away is very slim. Yes, very difficult. Yeah. But in Nigeria, when they indict, in fact, some politicians come out and joke. Oh, no problem. And
it's just arrest.
It's just arrest. Look at what happened in Kogi. What happened in Kogi is a mess for everybody. Even the EFCC chairman, the current EFCC chairman, said that the EFCC itself has prosecutors who are working with accused. He made the allegation on live TV. We saw it. And these are things that should tell on the integrity of an institution like the EFCC. And to me, the EFCC is not living up to expectation. It is just there to go after people. Because when you want to set an example in a society, it's not the little people you catch. It's the big people you go after.
Big shot.
Why are people scared of the FBI? Because they don't only go after small fishes, but go after big. And they don't play. But what we have here with the EFCC is that when they get somebody, media trial for a long time, oh yeah, this and that, and at the end of the day, either one technicality or the other. And before, I want to even point out the fact that even the issue, this same Delta State, James Ibori, and this is where I have the judiciary to blame. James Ibori escaped justice. He fled. But people forget that what Scotland Yard used to prosecute him was the evidence gathered in Nigeria. But James Ibori would have, if he had not escaped, would have likely slipped through technicalities, one thing or the other, and he would, get...
Now, I have to bring my friend, the legal practitioner, into this. Obviously, from everything he has said, you can tell the technicalities also is slipping around the legal system. So I want to put this to you quickly. Now, some governors in the past have been to prison. Some were pardoned. Are we looking at another similar scenario in this case? Do you think this particular case will move differently?
Okay, for me, I don't know whether he will be that lucky to get a presidential pardon. We must also remember that he was the vice presidential candidate of the opposing party. So that it might also be said that, okay, maybe there is political witch hunt, so that there is no political capital for him to use to try to get anywhere close to high office again. So that may just be a conjecture. But so far, we must always remember, I try to also remind people that there's something called the presumption of innocence in our Constitution, Section 36(5) of our Constitution, so that anything that's going to be done to him, we should ensure that it is fair and it is very, very clear, and we don't harangue him, we don't hang him before he is made to face our criminal procedure. So having said that, with respect to what Mr. Membre said about technicality and
always finding the loopholes.
Always finding the loopholes. We can't also always just drop that at the doormouth of the judiciary.
Right.
We must remember that it is very, very possible that what was used to prosecute him in the UK was different from what was used to prosecute him here. The fact that evidence are the same does not necessarily mean that whatever happened in that case has to happen here.
They're the law.
No. Lawyering too, to a large extent, lawyering too is there. So as much as possible, what I will advise the EFCC to do is to always ensure that They do investigation before prosecution.
Okay.
You can't just keep grabbing people and be expecting
they have to do their homework.
It's already happening.
It is while with them that you will now be conducting investigation. Let me just talk about the FBI and their prosecution. Since he raised it with the FBI, once you're indicted, especially in the Northern District of New York and SDNY, Southern District of New York. Yeah. It is about 90% chance that you are going to be.
You might hold your thoughts a bit. Let's quickly take this break. All right, we'll take this break and we'll be right back to take it home. Stay tuned with us.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking.
Welcome back. We are still dealing with the issue of the former Delta State Governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, with the alleged situation of the diversion of 1.3 trillion derivation fund. Now, Justice Ujena, you were actually trying to...
Okay, I was trying to say that with respect to the FBI, they have perfected their art to the point where they will not indict you at all if they know that as much that they won't get a 90% chance of conviction. So, Southern District of New York, once you're indicted, you're almost as good as toast. And in Japan, the win rate is even crazier. If they know that they can't get upwards of 96%, between 96 and 99, they will not bother indicting you because they also follow the principle that it is better to let 9 innocent persons go free than mistakenly convict a person who is innocent. It's better to let 9 guilty persons go free than convict one person.
I'm predicting that the same thing will play out in a
Okay, well, let's just...
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
It's already running out task. All
right. Well, finally, sad news. Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tarid Abiodun Lagbaja passes on this week. He died at the age of 56. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a release by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, announced Lagbaja's passing. Tinubu, who expressed his heartfelt condolences to the family and the Nigerian Armed Forces during this difficult time, wished Lagbaja eternal peace and honored his significant contributions to the nation. Tinubu also directed the postponement of the Federal Executive Council meeting till another date to be announced in honor of the dead. In addition, Tinubu ordered that flags be flown at half-mast nationwide for 7 days in honor of the departed general. Born on February 28, 1968, Lagbaja was appointed Chief of Army Staff on June 19, 2023. President Tinubu, of course, it's quite very sad day, and sad one for the country, sad one for the family, and we hope that the family continue to bear the strength to bear this irreparable loss. Now, a sad one for us. We lost a gallant soldier who has been lauded for his courage, a man who would advance with his troops, a servant leader he was called and tagged, who led from the front. How did you take this news when you heard?
I took it. It hit me hard because... once a person, there is so much investment that is lost. Yeah. So much investment to get an officer to that caliber. So much money has been lost by the Nigerian government. So much expertise, so much skill. And he happened to be one of those officers who was indeed loved by the rank and file of the Nigerian army, especially the people at the lowest rung of the Nigerian army. So it's a huge loss, not just to the family who I take this opportunity to commiserate with, to his community, to Osun State, to the governor of Osun State, and to the Nigerian army. So I feel so sad. I pray that all other officers who are practically maybe entering into his shoes now or probably going to be taking on his roles and responsibilities in future, they have a lot of his templates to actually work with. Okay. So a lot of welfare too, his welfare initiatives also credited to him. So I'm very, very happy with the life he has lived. Okay. And I pray again that God should grant his family and his state and everybody that loves him, and the Nigerian army the fortitude to bear the loss.
Now, remember very quickly, the way and manner this news broke out, right? Some felt it didn't seem befitting for a personality like General Lagbaja. At first, there was denial he was sick. Another report came out that he went for medical checkup and would be back, especially with the back and forth. What was your reservation concerning that? Was it a security tagged?
Well, I have no reservation about that because, you know, 3 months, he was not seen in public. Obviously, even among the rank and file, there will be rumors about what happened, what have not happened, you know, and these things usually get out. But, you know, with things that are sensitive as this, especially with the security situation, you have a new terrorist group, Lukrawara, whatever name they have, you know, and a lot of security sensitivity around it. You have to give time for the presidency and the national security apparatus.
And even the military. The
military, yes, to, you know, be able to brace themselves up and then look for a replacement that can fit in, you know. In fact, we have a chief of army staff in acting capacity, so I don't know if it's been confirmed substantive. Yes. But, you know, these things happen with this kind of situation. Nobody can really tell what had transpired, when he died, when he did not die, you know, the rest of that. But the problem, the thing is a sensitive situation.
Was security sensitive?
Yes. So I don't think anybody should even want to really know what has transpired. Again, he never owed us any this about his personal health. It was not our business. So far as he could perform his duties, you know, as required by the Constitution, leading the Nigerian army. And he did that excellently well. He's a sound soldier, you know, an infantryman, an alumnus of the Nigerian U.S. War College. So you see the level, capacity of soldier he was.
Just like he said.
Yes. We've lost millions down the drain to train him, his family, the nation, his state. You know, these are the things we should look at. And his replacement, not when he died, whatever rumors that broke out from when, you know, it's really not, it's irrelevant to the situation of things, you know.
Now, just to general, I know you're not a soldier. I don't want to bother you too much with some of the technicalities of the battlefield, but we lost another gallant soldier in active service. Remember, we also lost General Tahiru some time ago.
Yes.
Now, moving forward, how long do we continue to lose our best soldiers in active service? Do you think that more should be done in preserving the lives of these people, or we should just resign to fate that this is the call of a soldier? There's always a time to come and go because of what they have signed.
Okay, for this one is a natural. It's not as though he died in the face of battle, so we can't even really blame the Nigerian government for not providing the equipment for him to use to better protect himself.
But technically, you would say he died in active service?
Yeah, definitely. He died in active service. Yeah. But as for the other soldiers who we may say that, okay, they are losing their lives, maybe in droves, or since he appears as though the number has significantly reduced now, can we inspire them more? Can we motivate them more? Can we give them the equipment that they are yearning for in order to be able to preserve their lives and take the battle to these terrorists and to discourage them? We can't be having a situation where we have not even completely decimated Boko Haram. We're having other arms, new groups springing up. So we should decimate them to the point where they will be totally comatose. Just like ISIS now, Al-Qaeda has been totally decapitated. So we should do everything we can to equip our soldiers, our everyday soldiers, not just the ones that are in rank and file, to ensure that they take the battle to these criminals.
Right. Membri, finally, before we go, what's your final thoughts on this? Now, Lagbaja was termed as a man who would lead soldiers at the front. He would be there with them for days on ending in the forest, see to the end of the battle before he returns back. Now, knowing the kind of motivation he was giving to his soldiers, I mean, what do we expect moving forward? Because when we lose a man of this magnitude, what comes to the mind of Nigerians is, where do we find another man in this caliber?
Well, the current chief of army staff, who happens to be the same set with him, is also qualified. He was in Operation Hadenkai, and he's also an infantryman. I learned he's also an infantryman, and he's been in the theater, the North-East theater. So I don't think Nigeria has a problem with qualified soldiers. We do not have a problem with that. We have a problem with motivation of our troops. Motivation in terms of equipment, motivation in terms of welfare of our soldiers, and even in terms of even the retired personnel, because everybody looks at those who have retired and, you know, what is, if I'm doing something, what is left for me when I'm out? Yes. So these are things, it affects not only the military, it affects the same thing we're talking about EFCC now, it affects every system, every arm of, you know, law enforcement. And without law enforcement, there cannot be a society. There can't be sanity in the society. Government can't function. So it is, we do not have shortage of soldiers. I think the current Chief of Army Staff, whether acting or later substantive, is very much qualified, but I believe that the government has to do a lot in terms of welfare and equipment.
So, I must say thank you very kindly for your time on the show this evening.
You're welcome.
Hopefully we'll call on you again and you would answer us.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Justice Ujona, thank you so much.
It's always my pleasure.
For your wisdom and
sense
of belonging. All right, and that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Marco Tabo. Until next week, goodbye.